Fantastic. Welcome to another episode of Grant Talks Funny Bits. If you are joining us on Facebook, that's absolutely fantastic. If you are joining us on YouTube, something really weird has just happened on my feed and YouTube just disappeared. So hopefully you'll come and find us in a second. If not, this will be uploaded to YouTube later on. We have a fantastic guest for you again tonight. We bring you people from all around the world, true experts in the field of stage hypnosis. Tonight's guest is no exception, a phenomenal hypnotist. In fact, he is known as the world's coolest hypnotist, which is a cool moniker to have if there was. He's also got some interesting spins and pivots of stuff that he's doing as well. He is an author, a coach, and a performing stage hypnotist. So I'm going to play our little graphic, and then after that, get your questions ready for Derrick. Please, guys, make some noise. Bang your keyboard. Say hello to the man, the myth, the legend, the world's coolest hypnotist, Derrick Watkins.
Hey, how you doing, my friend? Thanks for the
Fantastic. We've got a couple of hellos. The hypnotist guy, Richard Cole, says, prepare to be de-rocked.
That's how I said hello, yes.
Exactly. Jeff Bennett says, hi, Derrick and Grant. And Jason Nobby Morgan says, hello. So, yes. The joys of live feeds. It's something that I've kind of got into since lockdowns happened. And every week there's always something new and interesting that happens with that. So that's cool. So first and foremost, how are you? How are things where you are at the moment when it comes to COVID and that type of stuff?
I'm great, to be honest with you. I've been keeping healthy for the most part. COVID has allowed me to focus on myself a little bit, kind of slow things down. You know, when you're on the road a lot, you do a lot of training, you're doing a lot of hypnosis, you tend to lose focus on some of the things that are important and some of the things that you need to get done. So if nothing else, it allowed me to focus a little bit and to take a look at revamping my show a little bit, come up with some new ideas.
Yeah. It's like exactly what you said. Sometimes when you're busy doing it and you're on the road, this has forced us all to slow down and kind of tidy up the little things we need to tidy up. So what was your first experience of hypnosis? What was your introduction to hypnosis as such?
Wow, that's funny. That goes back a little while. When I was learning NLP in New York City, I did an NLP training, and part of the NLP training was hypnosis. I learned a lot about Erik Erikson back then. So, but at the time I was a motivational speaker. So when I learned hypnosis and NLP, I kind of equated it to motivational speaking. And somewhere down the road, I realized something was happening to my audience. When some people are speaking and they hear silence across the room, they tend to freak out about that. So I did some research, I looked into it, and I realized that when I was talking and people were paying a lot of attention to me, or paying an enormous amount of attention, and that silence came over them, that was more like a trance. It wasn't them just ignoring me. It was more them focusing so in depth on what I was saying and what I was doing that they tranced out for a few moments.
Yeah.
So I looked into hypnosis as a career because I was already on stage. So me being on stage as a stage hypnotist wasn't really much to me. The transition was easy because the most important part, I believe, as a stage hypnotist is learning how to navigate the stage.
Yes.
If you know hypnosis and you can't navigate the stage, your show will fail.
Yeah.
So my first look at it was in the late 90s, to be honest with you. And I've been doing it, stage hypnosis, full time since 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
A little longer than that. I'm not counting a couple things that I did, but that's when I really thought I took off.
Yeah. And it's like you said there, it's quite important. And it's a theme that's come up from most of these kind of episodes, these conversations with successful hypnotists, having that experience on the stage, having that experience performing, speaking is so important as a foundation for being a good stage hypnotist. The actual hypnosis part of it is a tiny element to it. It's a great point. Richard Cole was talking last week, and we were talking about the position on stage and how that can have an effect on an audience as well. Brilliant. Tell us about your first. I mean, to go from a motivational speaker type of point to a stage hypnotist, more of a comedy side of things. How was that? How was the first show?
Well, for me, I like to start from scratch with things. So I learned to be a motivational speaker by studying people like Les Brown,
Yeah.
Anthony Robbins, Tony Robbins, and a few people that I can't remember right now. So what I did was I did some research and I came across a gentleman who lived in Pennsylvania at the time, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. His name is Steve Marino. Steve is an old school stage hypnotist. He's retired now. So I like to do things hands-on.
Yeah.
So I didn't necessarily want to do it online or do it via telephone or something like that. I'm a hands-on guy.
Yeah.
So Steve invited me down to Philadelphia. I spent a week with him in Philadelphia. He took me on the road to Massachusetts to do his show. And the very first time I did a stage hypnosis show, he caught me off guard. We were doing a high school show in New Hampshire. And big show. It was nice day, high school show. I think it was a prom. And I'm standing off to the side and he says, Derrick, you're going on in 5 minutes to do a skit. I said, what? He said, you're going on in 5 minutes to do a skit. Just do what I taught you. So for a moment, I had a brain freeze. And many stage hypnotists can relate to this brain freeze. It happens every now and then. It doesn't happen as often as it used to. But a brain freeze. The very first skit I did on stage was the roller coaster ride.
Yes.
And he said, whatever skit you got in your head, do it. So that's the one that popped in my head. So I did the roller coaster ride skit. He taped it. We chatted a little bit after that to see how I felt about it and what I could have done differently. But that's when I broke my ice.
Yeah.
That 5 minutes, again, the stage part wasn't the issue. The timing, the making sure that people are going to laugh, making sure that you're in tune with the audience and in tune with the people on the stage at the same time for their safety as well. That's when the first time I got a real good taste of it. And at that point, it was all, I'm in. He caught me off guard. I wasn't mad about it. I wasn't mad about it. I think that was the best way to get me, to be honest with you. I appreciated that.
Because with stage stuff, you have got to be, you're focusing at so many different things at once. To be caught off guard is the best way of doing it. When you mentioned there the roller coaster skit, that's exactly the skit it's a great skit. So I've got a copy of that from YouTube here. I'm just going to play this now. I'll minimize myself, but it'll be you alongside that.
Always remain in your seat on this roller coaster. It's going to take some twists. It's going to take some turns. Always stay in your seat and in your harness. As we go up, 200 feet, 400 feet, 500 feet. We're going down, we're going down, we're going down, we're going up. 200 feet, 400 feet, 500 feet. 800 feet. We're going down. We're going down. We're going down. We're going down. Okay, this is a big hill. This is a big hill. We're going up. 300 feet. 500 feet. 800 feet. 1,000 feet. 1,200 feet. We're up in the clouds. We are higher than the Empire State Building as we climb to 1,300 feet. But guess what? Guess what? The guy operating the roller coaster walked away. He's taking his break. Scream at him and tell him to come back. Scream at him and tell him to come back. He's back, and he's apologizing. And since you guys are the last ride, he decided to take you an extra 500 feet. 1,800 feet. 1,900 feet. 2,100 feet. 2,200 feet. We're at the top. We're at the top. We're coming over. Stay in your seats. And we're down. The ride is over. The ride is over. The ride is over. The ride is over.
That's a fantastic skit. We seem to have swapped sides now. Fantastic skit. And it's got one of the most important things that I think is important for the stage hypnosis show, and that's it's got great reactions.
Yeah.
So often you see a stage hypnotist will do a skit that just doesn't, it's just not animated. And it just, the way that you deliver that and the way you kind of take it up, quite literally take it up, and then take it up, and then take it up. You know, the audience is there with you the whole way. So, yeah. And so you say that was your first skit you ever did?
That was it. That was the first one, you know, and it's so fortunate because when I did the skit, I remembered something that I read a long time ago. It was a quote by Will Smith, which said, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
Yeah.
So even though I did the skit and I wasn't ready for the skit, in my mind, I was ready.
Yeah.
Because Steve did a great job of actually, it's so funny. He gave me his whole show. He was retiring. He said, Derrick, here it is on video. And very few people will do something like that. He gave me his show. He also gave me his territory, which was Massachusetts.
Nice.
And whenever he got a call from someone, because he was like 60 years old. He's like 70 now. He didn't want to travel from Philadelphia to Massachusetts anymore, but I'm in the middle. I'm in New Jersey. So he said, hey, if I get a call and someone has a show, I'm gonna shoot it to you. Tell them that I you know, that you're my guy, and I want you to do these shows for me. So that's how fast I got into it.
Nice.
I also did some shows, you know, for about, you know, I help out the community. So the local Boys and Girls Club, you know, would call me up and say, hey, Derrick, we have this program going on. Do you mind doing a show? So I would do a show. That was my way of giving back. The reason I did that was that to be a great stage hypnotist, or above grade, I like to think, you have to get in the practice.
Yeah.
And I'm an athlete. And as an athlete, you don't get better unless you practice.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people who are stage hypnotists say never do nothing for free. Well, guess what? I like to think you do something for free in order to get paid later.
Yeah.
Because what happened from those shows was I had people who were in corporations who were there, who were on boards, who saw me and said, hey, can you do me a Christmas show for me? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So every time I did that, the payoff was on the back end.
Yeah. I mean, some of my there's two shows that I always talk about when I talk about hypnosis, and one of those was on the back of a charity show that I was helping a friend out for, and that opened so many doors from that one free show. It's amazing. I mean, it's weird. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with free shows. I think as performers, we do kind of have that responsibility to use what we can do to help the community out as well. But then I also dislike people that you do get a lot of people that take advantage of entertainers for exposure. And so, I limit myself to a certain amount of charity shows that I do now. Like, it's exactly what you said. You've got to be on that stage. You've got to be performing, because if you're not, you're sat on your sofa doing nothing really. So, yeah.
Well, this is one of the skills where hypnosis is a practice skill.
Yes.
You have to be hands-on with it. So you may know everything about the book. You may even know everything about, you know, how things intertwine with the unconscious and subconscious mind. All that's great.
Yeah.
But you have to put that out there and build your confidence and your competence.
Yes.
The competence is the practice. Your confidence comes with competence. So if you don't get out there and put your hands on it, when you finally get a chance, you might have a major brain freeze where you forget everything. And that's because you didn't put it in your unconscious or subconscious mind, where you can do it no matter where you at. You should be able to hypnotize.
Brilliant. Absolutely spot on. We've just got a couple of comments from the video as well. Alana Jennings says, it actually makes me feel like I'm on a roller coaster. Jason Simmons says, great skit. Loves the guy's reaction in the grey shirt. Interesting. I was looking at the lady with the blonde hair. Her reaction was what caught me. So I think there was something in there. And Alana Jennings says, why did they fall?
Yeah, let's talk about that. You know, it's funny. One of my mentors, one of my good friends is Michael C. Anthony. Michael C. Anthony is an amazing hypnotist. He was the guy who put the icing on the cake for me. You know, so if Steve helped me bake the cake, he put the icing and the cherry on the top. Now, the falling, I know a lot of people got issues with that, but here's the thing. During hypnosis, and if you study hypnosis on a deep level, there's something that you should come across. People will have their reactions to being hypnotized. And some people get so deeply into it that they have a reaction that allows them to come out their chairs. I put something in my skit that says, you know, depending on who I'm doing it with, because I've never had a problem over 15 years of people being on the floor and someone saying to me, that's not a good thing. No one has ever, ever, ever complained. So my thing is, what makes my show so unique and exciting is the fact that I allow the volunteers to be themselves.
Yeah.
I have safety as my number one priority. I make sure that I can control the stage at all times, but I do talk to them in a way that allows them to go down on the floor.
Yeah.
I don't do that in the audience to the audience members. It's just people on the stage with me. So I understand what the fears are, but that's what makes, you know, great hypnotists great. You plan for everything that can possibly go wrong. And up until this point, nothing's gone wrong. And Michael C. Anthony helped me with that logic as well.
Yeah. I think it's weird because you get some people, especially on you know, we all know the groups. You get people on groups that see something and react to it and say something, then other people see them react to it and then follow that. The difference is when you build a skit up to a certain way and you know that reaction is going to happen, it's a controlled thing.
Yes.
I think the danger comes from when people are falling out of chairs when it's not controlled and it's not expected.
When it's not controlled.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, I think it's when newbies are doing it, it could become a dangerous thing. But when you know it's going to happen, when it's a controlled, because that finishes that skit off perfectly. You know, by the fact they just tumble there, just adds to that element of that skit. So, and like I said, it's in a controlled, safe environment. So yeah, I totally get that. But I know in America, having subjects on the floor is quite a controversial subject. Over here in the UK, it's not so much. But I put a video on YouTube a couple of years ago from a festival I was doing, and I laid people down in a line on the floor, and it's just everyone went crazy about it, like how terrible I am to do this, and I'm like, what? But I think that's a cultural difference between here in the UK and the USA. But again, I think it goes back to what we were saying earlier. It's about treating them with respect and it being a controlled, safe thing to do. So yeah.
When it looks like it's part of your show, people don't freak out about it.
Yeah,
you know, it's part of what I'm doing. So you're absolutely right about that.
Yeah. I always talk, we're talking about challenges as such. I always ask everyone that's on about their kind of best and worst show. What was the show that did throw a challenge that you either weren't expecting or you'd learn a lot from? And kind of what was that?
The shows, this happened to me a couple of times, not maybe 3 or 4. It doesn't happen a lot, but it's happened at least 3, 4. I can count it on one hand. The shows where there aren't a lot of people in the audience to come on stage to participate, that's the toughest show for me. And I've learned to manage it because it happens a few times. So the next time it happens, you know what to do. So you have people in the audience, you know, they're expecting, and this happens at college sometimes. There are people, certain colleges you go to, they expect the show, and certain colleges you go to, they don't advertise it good enough.
Yeah.
So when you get there, they're like, what? So you have this small crowd. And this is one of the things I've learned not to do, not plan for a number of people to be on stage. That is the worst mistake I think a stage hypnotist can do to himself. You got to plan for the people who I believe are going to be up there and work with that. So I got away from that. Those experiences taught me not to worry about having 15 or 12 or 10. Just deal with what you deal with. Because here's the thing. If you have 4 people on stage, it can still be a great show.
Yeah.
It still could be a great show. So it's nothing to fear. It's just about you. You are the entertainer here.
Yeah.
They're just following your lead. So if you can entertain them in a way that makes them feel like this is going to be funny, if this is funny, they'll forget the fact that there's only 4 people up there. That's not going to be a big deal.
Yeah, a funny show's a funny show. I saw at the Edinburgh Fringe a couple of years ago, there's a hypnosis show called Hypprov. I'll not say who the hypnotist is, but it's kind of a spin on hypnosis and improv, so it goes well together.
Okay.
But the premise of that is they only want 4 people on stage. So even in an audience of like 7, 8, 9, 1,000 people, they just want the best 4 people on stage, and it's a fantastic show because of it. So yeah, it's if you know how to deliver a good show, it doesn't matter on your numbers as such. So yeah, what's your number one show, your best show, the one that when you're visualizing and you're going into that place? What's that?
Yeah, my number one show in corporate, and this has happened to me a lot, which I'm happy about. I love the shows where there's not just a lot of people, because you could have many people in the audience and them not paying attention to you
Yeah.
or not feeling that you're entertaining enough that they can laugh or, watch you. I love the shows where I have a large crowd. I'm on top of my game because I'm well rested.
Yeah.
I'm well rested. That's very important. I got enough sleep and I'm well rested. I'm well prepared. And I have a great set of volunteers. Volunteers where I don't know who to send back
Yeah.
because all of them are good.
Yeah.
But you got to send people back to the audience for safety reasons,
Yeah.
depending on the size of the stage. So the stage, I've been on stages that were humongous, and I was able to keep more people than normal. Had a great show, and I've been on stages where they were small and I had to send people back. But that stage where that audience where everything you do and they're laughing so much that you can't hear yourself.
Yeah.
That energy I enjoy, and that comes from my history of playing basketball. Being in large arenas and hearing people scream to the point where you can't hear yourself. It makes you focus in so much that you forget that they're there.
Yeah.
And the only time I can remember that they're there is when I'm facing them. But oh my goodness, I love doing large audience shows. That is something that I get up for. That turns me on.
Yeah. I think the first big show I did in a proper theatre style setting, there's something magical about the energy in the room when everybody is focused on you. And to make that transition from bar shows and club shows and where you cut your teeth to go into a theatre show, it's an amazing feeling. We talk about COVID and having to pivot and change. Are you doing anything kind of online, virtual wise or anything like that? I spoke to a few guys that are doing virtual shows or hybrid shows. Are you doing anything like that at the moment?
I decided not to do any virtual shows.
Yeah.
I had a couple of virtual trainings, but I haven't done any virtual shows. I'm a hands-on guy, and I need to be in the room. I don't want to take the chance that I hypnotize someone and they go so deeply into it that I can't bring them out.
Yeah.
I understand that people are doing it, but it's not. I know when to say no. I'll see you when this thing is over. I'm good with that. But in terms of training, I can teach someone how to do hypnosis in 5 minutes. But respect to the hypnosis show online, I'm a hands-on guy. I like to be in the room. I want to make sure that I can plan for everything that goes wrong, because something goes wrong, I need to fix it. And I'm not going to rely on somebody who's on camera with me to fix something that I initiated.
Yeah.
I'd rather not do that. So no, I haven't done any virtual shows. No.
Yeah. No, I mean, same here. And I think the dynamics of a stage hypnosis show works when it's on a stage. I'm not the biggest fan of stage hypnosis on television. I don't think it works as well on TV as what it does when it's real life. When you can see the whites of the eyes of the people on stage and you know them or their friends are friends, I think it makes it for such a greater experience. Once it's on TV, it takes away a little bit. I've seen some of your YouTube videos as well of you doing the street stuff. How is that? I think you're on Fremont Street. I saw a great video of you on Fremont Street.
Yeah. The Fremont Street. I go to Vegas every year for the Hypno Thoughts live training.
Yeah.
And I get together with my friends who are street hypnotists, and we go down to Fremont Street. And I got to tell you, I like to see things in respect to building upon things. So my practice comes from street, stage, and therapy. So triple threat, for lack of a better word. If you can do street, you can hypnotize any place.
Yeah.
Because street it's not a controlled environment. And being on Fremont Street with all the music and noise and people passing it by and having to stop people. That challenges your expertise.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love it personally because once you get one person, people stop, you
Yeah.
can get more.
Yeah.
So street hypnosis has been the thing that's really gotten my one-on-one hypnosis really tight. I can do that virtually. That is
Yeah.
easy to do. But Fremont Street, anytime you can do street hypnosis, I say do it.
Yeah.
Those people who want to learn hypnosis, that's the best place to start. Well, people you don't know. They also say that you shouldn't hypnotize people you know. Well, I've hypnotized people I know, brothers and sisters. It's just a matter of your rapport.
Yeah.
If you establish good rapport, it doesn't matter who the person is and how they related to you, you can hypnotize them.
Yeah. So Richard says, have live shows started back in the US yet? And if they haven't, when do you think they will?
That's a good one. I just saw something with Michael C. Anthony yesterday on Facebook, and Michael C. just did a hypnosis show yesterday. And so they're coming back slowly. I have bookings. People are calling me up and emailing me and asking me to reserve the date.
Yeah.
So I'm anticipating, depending on where in the country you're at, that shows will probably come back starting in April.
Fingers crossed.
With some social distancing, and that's fine. I'm
Yeah.
prepared for that, and I think people should prepare for that.
I mean, it's one of those things that it will make us more conscious now of that whole transference of germs and stuff like that with the people that's on stage. People aren't going to be handing microphones all the way down the line like they used to. So there is some positives that will come out of this. So yeah, that's a good thing. When we talk about pivots, I think it's fair to say, you know, you do is it hypnotic dating?
Yes. You know, back in the day, and still today, I was a therapist, and I still am. I'm a hypnotherapist, but I also incorporate some counseling in regards to loss and trauma and dealing with couples who are wanting to break up or stay together, and people who want to meet each other.
Yeah.
So I've always been on the dating field and teaching people how to be dateable.
Yeah.
So I wrote this book called Hypnotic Dating. It's on Amazon now.
Oh,
and it teaches
that section there. There we go.
It's on Amazon. It's on Amazon now. I appreciate that, Grant. It's on Amazon now, and it actually goes to the basics of what dating really is. Dating is not a relationship. And I think people go into dating sometime looking for a relationship when you should be just looking to examine the product.
Yeah.
This is taking a look at the potential product like we do when we go in stores. You should be reading the back of stuff and taking a look at how this product is going to service you. So I talk about in the book how to focus on the product without allowing your feelings to get caught up in the moment, which is important because unfortunately, your feelings and your thinking can live in the same space. So if you get caught emotionally into something or someone, that will push down the logic part of your brain and force you to go forward. And down the road, 3 weeks, you say to yourself, well, why did I do that? Because you were being led with your emotions instead of being led by your thinking.
Yeah.
You can work together with them, but your emotions will always suffocate the way you think and the way you respond intellectually.
Yeah, I must say, yeah, you know, falling in love or lust is probably one of the most powerful hypnotic trances as such. So there you go. I'll put another section up there, another link there to the book. So I can imagine that's going to do quite well coming up to Valentine's Day.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yes, this Valentine's Day is coming. Yes.
So what's next for you? Where do you see what are your new goals? What things have you got coming up on the horizon? What's your next challenges?
My next challenge is improving on what I do. You know, I visualize myself getting on larger stages, doing more corporate shows. Because I was starting to build my corporate shows when the COVID thing hit. So I'm looking forward to just building and reaching and expanding my network. I want to do training as well. I want to teach people what I do. I like to give stuff away. So one of the things when we come out of this COVID situation, I'm gonna be offering stage hypnosis training, which I call freestyle stage hypnosis training. So I have a freestyle approach, and a freestyle approach is a controlled approach, but it's an approach that allows your volunteers to be themselves in a controlled environment. So what I'm teaching is what's called freestyle hypnosis. And once we come out of this, I'm going to teach people how to be on stage, and street, because I also believe if freestyle hypnosis applies more to the street than actually does to the stage, but they're both transferable.
Yeah.
So the goal is to teach people and train people who want to learn how to be the best freestyle hypnotist, where you can hypnotize anyone at any time in any place.
Yeah.
Party, home, it doesn't matter. And the confidence is there, but I'm going to teach the competence as well.
Yeah. And I think it's so important as well. We know quite a few hypnotherapists kind of watch this live and some on the replay as well. It's such a missing link if you're a hypnotherapist and you've not studied performing hypnosis, even if you have no intentions of going on stage and doing it, to have that skill set so you can do the impromptu stuff at the drop of a hat, to learn about the presenting side of things, because all the things that make you a good presenter on stage also make you a good presenter on Zoom, make you a good presenter when you're, doing demonstrations or talks to groups. So the stage stuff benefits, even the therapists that have no intention of being stage hypnotists as such. So yeah, it's fantastic. So yeah, put up can they find details for that training on your website?
I will post something. Right now, I'm rebuilding my website, making some changes. Like I said, this COVID thing has allowed me to focus more and say, okay, this is the lane I'm going to go in.
Yeah.
And I'm very good at staying in my lane.
Yes.
So I'm going to get in my lane.
In what we do.
Very important. I stay in my lane. So
yeah.
What I'm going to do is you can look forward to some stuff via website or contact me. I'm sure Grant will post my contact. Contact me and I'll keep you abreast of this. I'd rather do it. I'm trying my hardest not to do it virtually.
Yes.
But I'm hoping by the fall we'll be out of this. But if we're not, I will do the training virtually. So September is the target date for the training start, virtually or in classroom, because once we come out of this, I'm gonna be busy.
Yeah.
And I need to make myself available for my stage and people who hire me. Then I can settle in the later months when things slow down just a little bit.
I must admit, it's one of the things that I've tried to do during lockdown is streamline the processes that used to take up more time than it should have done when I was busy on the road, so that when it comes back to performing again, that stuff takes care of itself. So yeah, it's taught me a lot. So yeah, silly thing as well. Kind of where's your next? Where's your next show? Can people get tickets to see a show?
Right now, not now. No tickets anywhere because we're not, everybody's still locked down here. But the very next time I have something that's public, I will put it out there. I'm working on all that stuff,
Yeah.
I enjoy being on a stage. It's something that I enjoy doing. I love giving back. So when I'm on stage and it's a public show, I will announce it. But what I'm getting now is mostly from colleges and prom and grad night. So all that is coming in right now, which I expect that comes in. But once the public stuff comes in, I will definitely advertise.
Such a great market. It's not a market that we have here in the UK. We've got some strange regulations, which help keep it the way that it is here. But we don't do like fairs. We don't do grad nights, proms, schools. So yeah. So that's great. Do you do much in the fair market?
Yeah, I did a fair. I did a fair in Chicago, Illinois, just out of Chicago, Illinois, the biggest fair, the Illinois Fair. I did that with my friend William Mitchell. I was on stage with William Mitchell and some other friends, Salish, all these gentlemen that I've camaraderie with, friends that I collab with all the time. And he actually had a training there, and he invited me down to not only train but also be on stage. So I like the fair market. It's intense. I enjoyed it. I had a great time. And the fair market is a market that I tend to go into. I stayed away from it for a while, not because I couldn't do it, because I wasn't interested. But now I am. Now I am. And I'm up. And here's the thing about being a stage hypnotist that I must impress upon people who are interested. You have to stay physically in shape.
Yeah.
Because to be in the fair market, for example, you could be in the fair, you could be doing the fair at 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock. If you're not physically in shape, you're going to be drained, and people will see that when you're on stage. So even now, when I'm doing the shows I'm doing now, one of the things I do is I try to stay physically fit, because when I'm flying around and traveling, I always get a hotel with a gym.
Yeah.
I always get a hotel with a gym. And if I can't find one, I make sure I do something in my room, because I have to stay physically fit. Because my show is energy, you know, and I like energy. I'm moving a lot, and I like to participate with my audience. So if I'm involved and I'm not just standing up, and I stand up to the side when they're doing stuff, but I bring the energy. I started off.
Yeah.
I like to match. The volunteers keep the fire blazing.
Yeah.
That's how I like to look at it.
And I think that's it's a great tip for a budding stage hypnotist. You've got to go where you want them to go. Like you said then about that energy. If you've got that energy, it gives them permission to have that energy as well. If you're there kind of like all quiet and down and shy, your volunteers are not going to be responsive. So that's a great tip. Speaking of tips, if you were to give one tip, one bit of advice to either a young Derrick just starting out, or to a stage hypnotist or hypnotherapist watching this now, one tip, what would it be?
The one tip I would give is, and it's funny because the one tip is a corporation of maybe 3 tips. And the one tip I would give is to get the training, definitely, and get training that's hands-on with someone who will allow you to mess up.
Yeah.
The one thing I would say about stage hypnosis is to embrace failure. It is going to happen. But here's the funny part about failure on stage. Only you know when you do a good show that you messed up.
Yeah.
If the person who hired you says, great show, because this happened to me several times, and you say, really? That just means you're on the cusp of something great.
Yeah.
So never give away to someone that you messed up unless they say, hey, you messed up. Again, you know, embrace failure. That's the one thing I would say.
Yeah.
Be okay with messing up, because when you fail, you learn.
Yeah.
That's experience.
Yeah.
So I like to say, live to learn. When you lose, you learn. So there's no losing. You know, there's winners and there's learning.
Yeah.
I don't separate the two. I never lose, I learn.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm messing something up, I say to myself, okay, what did I learn from that? Check the video, check my positioning, check what I said, what I didn't say, what I could have done differently, and I learn to the next, move on to the next thing.
Brilliant advice. Brilliant advice. Fantastic. Derrick, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'll make sure there's links put up to your website, your contact details as well. It's been a great pleasure. I'll put this and upload this over to YouTube. I have just subscribed to your YouTube channel as well. Guys,
I appreciate it.
As well. Find Derrick Watkins on YouTube, subscribe to his channel as well. And Derrick, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure, my friend. Always good to see you.
Good to see you too.